Hello. Morning, everybody. Today we're going to do the absence buying back lost pension. I'm Finola Middleton and I do have a croaky voice today, so apologies for that. I will take myself off camera when we start just so that if I have any issues, you won't be subjected to that. I think we've got everybody in at the minute, so we can make a start and we'll get on with the presentation so you can get on with the rest of your day. So there were some changes to the regulations on the 1st of April this year. So we're going to cover the old and the new elements today. So the new changes were brought in to close the gender pay gap, with females losing out more due to child-related unpaid leave. The scheme does not disadvantage members when they're off sick, on parental leave for maternity, on adoption leave, on paternity leave, on shared parental leave, on parental bereavement leave, which is also new from the 6th of April this year. Assumed pensionable pay should be reported for all these periods, even when the member's pay drops to zero. The assumed pensionable pay should still be reported, and the employer contributions should be paid on the assumed pensionable pay. So during child-related leave, members pay contributions on the pay that they receive. Employers must report assumed pensionable pay on the monthly returns, and employer contributions are based on assumed pensionable pay. So maternity and adoption leave, that can be up to 52 weeks, including unpaid periods that start after the 1st of April this year. Paternity is up to 2 weeks, and shared parental leave can be up to 50 weeks. Anybody with an existing APC or a shared cost APC or an AVC and a shared cost AVC contract that's after the 1st of April 2014, they remain payable unless they've ended. And for bereaved partners leave, so that was from the 6th of April this year, bereaved partners may take up to 52 weeks of paternity leave if the child's primary carer dies within 1 year of the birth or adoption. And this includes same-sex partners, and the assumed pensionable pay applies throughout the entire period, whether it's paid or unpaid. Where an employee has exhausted their paid leave entitlement and requests additional unpaid leave, the employee will not receive any salary for that unpaid leave period. However, pension contributions must still be calculated based on the contractual pay the employee would have received, as if they'd worked their normal full pay period. The pension contributions are based on notional contractual full pay, not actual reduced pay. And this applies for 1 to 2 days of unpaid leave, up to 14 consecutive days off. If an employee takes 2 weeks of unpaid leave for a holiday after all their paid leave has been used, the employee receives reduced or zero salary for that period. Pension contributions for both the employee and the employer, are calculated as if the employee had received full normal monthly pay. And the lost pay and contributions should be reported on the monthly return. If the net pay is insufficient, the employee contribution should carry forward to the next available payroll period. Lost pensionable pay would be applied in a period of authorised unpaid leave of less than 15 days that starts on or after the 1st of April this year. The compulsory contributions are based on lost pensionable pay. So the lost pensionable pay is what their normal pay is. And this is the pay that they would have received if they'd not been on authorised unpaid leave. So it's not assumed pensionable pay. So the member contributions are based on their normal contribution rate, and if that's in the main scheme or if it's in the 50-50 scheme. Employer contributions are based on the percentage rate set by the actuary for the year in which the leave was taken. So if the member normally pays £100 a month in pension contributions, and if they have a month with less than 15 days authorised leave, the member would still pay that £100 for that month as if they'd received normal full pay. There will be some occasions when it's not possible to deduct the compulsory contributions in that pay period when the absence happens. And this might happen if a member is paid weekly or if the unpaid leave is immediately after a different unpaid period, such as an unpaid sickness absence or an unpaid maternity leave. Employers must have a process in place to ensure that the compulsory contributions are deducted and paid to the administering authority as soon as possible after the unpaid break happens. If a scheme member has authorised leave approved and they take 15 calendar days or more, then when they return to work, you would calculate the lost pensionable pay, and they must decide if they want to buy back the lost pension. And they do that using a qualified additional pension arrangement, a QAPA. And a QAPA is the mechanism which allows a member to restore the pension that they've lost during a period of authorised unpaid leave. Importantly, if the member elects within the permitted time, the cost of buying that pension back is shared between the member and the employer. If they miss the deadline, they can still buy the pension, but it will be at full cost to the member. A QAPA would apply if a scheme member took a continuous period of authorised unpaid leave of 15 days or more that started after the 31st of March 2026, and the member elects to pay the contributions to buy back the pension lost in that unpaid period within a year of returning to work or within a longer period that's allowed by the employer. The election must have been made while the member is in the same employment that they were in when they took the unpaid leave. So where the arrangement is a QAPA, the cost of buying the lost pension is based on the contributions that the member and the employer would have paid if the member had been at work receiving their normal pay. This could involve more than one employer contribution rate if the absence spans the 1st of April in a year where the employer contribution rate changes. The member contribution rate may also change if the absence spans the 1st of April. So depending on the employer's policy on reviewing the member contribution rate mid-year, this rate could change at other times if there's been a pay award, a regrading exercise that the unpaid period was in. If the member was in the 50-50 section immediately before the authorised absence, the cost of buying back the lost pension is based on the 50-50 section contribution rate. And if a member is not returning to work after a period of authorised unpaid leave, they may still elect to start a QAPA to cover the period for pension purposes. So they would need to do so before their leaving date, and they would have to pay their share of the contributions by lump sum direct to us, the administering authority. Generally, a member can choose whether to pay by lump sum or regular contributions, as an arrangement to pay by regular contributions can last for a year or a number of years. So when the amounts are small, the employer may choose not to offer the option to pay regular contributions. A contract to pay regular contributions must end before the member's normal pension age in the scheme, and that's the same as their state pension age. A member who's over their normal pension age or who will reach their normal pension age within a year, they can only pay by lump sum. The employer is only obliged to pay the employer contributions in respect of an unpaid period of up to 3 years. However, the employer could voluntarily pay a share of the cost to cover the unpaid period beyond the first 3 years if they wish. So Paul has been on unpaid leave of absence after following his favourite band around on a world tour. And when he returns to work, his employer must calculate the lost pay and make him aware of the QAPA options by providing him with the member lump sum only information and the member options information sheet. Paul will have a year to decide if he'd like to pay the additional contributions or longer if the employer will allow. The Local Government Association have put some guidance and a spreadsheet together to help with the calculation of the QAPA. So there is a calculator on the links here on the slide with notes and guidance and a tab that you send to us, the administrators. And this is what the spreadsheet will look like. So in this example, we have Paul Smith. He earns £100 a day and he's in the main scheme, and the employer pays 13%. The cost to the member is £82.50, and it's £195 to the employer, as this is their normal percentage contribution of the pay that the member did not earn. And the results are broken down to pay that off over 1 to 4 years if it's required. And from that one lot of data input, it populates all the other tabs as well. The member only lump sum tab looks like this. It has two options for the member. One is I do not want to pay, and it outlines the amount and asks for a signature. And the other is I do want to pay, and it outlines the amount and the signature. And in line 13 of that form, it does ask for the employer to enter your email address so that we have contact details for you. So please remember to complete that line. The member options tab looks like this, and it has three options. Option 1 is to pay by lump sum. Option 2 is to pay over 1 year, and is the default, but you can select from the years in the drop down, and it goes down to 9 years, giving a much longer payment plan. Option 3 is I do not want to pay. Again, in line 13 of the member options tab, it asks for the employer to enter that return address and email address if there is any queries. So make sure you're remembering to complete that line. And the last tab is the one called Information for the LGPS Fund. And that's the one that you need to send to us. On it, you complete the additional contributions that will be paid by either regular contribution or by lump sum, the start and the end date of the additional contributions. And there's also an additional notes box to tell us anything special. And then there's details for the name and the phone number and the email of who to contact if we have any queries. So where a member elects to enter into a QAPA arrangement, employers must submit the following to pensions@wipf.org.uk. So that's a copy of the member's QAPA election, the form generated for the info for the local government fund tab on the QAPA calculator. All QAPA contributions must be recorded and paid under the APC column on the monthly return spreadsheet. Employers must also complete a record maintenance form if any unauthorised absences or authorised leave of 15 days or more where the member is not buying back the lost pension through a QAPA. So we need a record maintenance form to notify us of any of those. If the employer does not pay the member during jury service, we treat that period as authorised unpaid absence. So if it's less than 15 days, it remains pensionable. So you include the lost pay in the pay main and or the 50/50 column, and you continue reduced contributions if the member was in the 50/50 section before the absence. Employer contributions remain payable, and for absences of 15 days or more, offer the member the option to buy back the lost pension using a QAPA. Members who take unauthorised leave of absence can't buy lost pension, and no employer contributions are payable for those. So strike and authorised unpaid absences where no QAPA has been elected for and it's now exceeded the 1-year time limit, members can use the additional pension contributions, an APC, to buy back the lost pension for the strike days and any other authorised unpaid leave where no QAPA has been purchased. They can do this at any time when they're an active member. They'll pay the full cost, so there are no employer contributions to pay. And note that members can start paying APCs for lost pension even if they're in the 50-50 section of the scheme. So if a member is interested in doing that, please provide them with the absence form. And this is what the absence form looks like. And it's been updated for buying back pension following an absence from duty from the 1st of April this year. So you complete the top part of the form, supplying the member details, the reason for absence, the period of lost pension, and the lost pay the member didn't pay contributions on, and then sign and date the form and give it to the member. The form provides the lost pay that the member will need for the APC calculator. The member can use the LGPS modeler to get a quote to see how much it would cost them to buy that lost pension. And they do that by visiting the link shown here on the slide. And payments can be made by either the lump sum or regular amounts, which have to be at least £10 a month for a year or more. If they're happy with the cost and want to go ahead with buying back the lost pension, the member must return the absence form and the APC application form to you, the employer. On receipt of a completed absence form and APC application form, you must then fill in the back of the absence form, and that confirms the lost pensionable pay is correct. And you will either be paying over regular payroll deductions or confirming the gross total amount of contributions and the dates from and to, or confirming that you'll be making the payments by a lump sum deduction through the payroll and supply the total amount and the date that you'll be paying it over, or that the member has elected to pay by a direct lump sum, and that instructs us here to invoice the member for that payment that's due. You must send both the absence form, which needs to be signed by an authorised user, and the member application form back to us here at West Yorkshire Pension Fund. So do make sure that they have been signed by both parties. If you're paying over additional pension contributions for the lost pension or for a QAPA, please include them on your monthly return and make sure that they're recorded in the columns AM or AN. Do not include them in the normal employee and employer contribution fields. You can buy extra pension as well as lost pension using an APC. So APCs are also a way for members to buy extra pension. The maximum amount of additional pension a member can buy is currently £9,000.54, and that's for the year 26-27, and that figure increases each year in line with the cost of living. So at retirement, they may be able to give up some extra pension for more lump sum, and there are limits that apply to this. At the end of each scheme year, the extra pension that they have bought will be calculated, and this amount will be added to their benefits and increased each year along with their other benefits. So why buy extra pension? A member can use this option if they want to boost their pension benefits at retirement. They must be in the main section of the scheme to increase their benefits using this APC calculator. So it's not an option if they're in the 50-50 section of the scheme. Each employer should have a discretionary policy in place and published. The policy covers how you will exercise the 5 mandatory discretions, and 2 of which allow employers to contribute to purchase extra pension for members. So if you want to exercise Regulation 16, and that's where an active member pays additional pension contributions by regular or lump sum, or to purchase extra annual pension. An employer can choose to voluntary purchase or voluntary contribute towards the cost of purchasing that extra pension through a shared cost APC arrangement. Regulation 31 allows an employer to award additional pension. An employer can choose to grant additional pension up to the maximum allowed by the scheme rules, provided that the member is active or is within 6 months of leaving for reasons of redundancy or business efficiency, or whose employment was terminated by mutual consent on the grounds of business efficiency. Employers may wish to use this regulation as an aid to recruitment and retention, or to compensate and reward employees who are retiring. The cost does vary depending on the member's age, gender, and how much extra pension they buy and the payment period that they choose. They can pay regular contributions over a number of years, but they must pay at least £10 a month, or they can pay by lump sum. Payments by regular contributions are subject to review and may change during the payment period. If a member pays tax, the deductions from their salary automatically get tax relief. A quote to buy extra pension can be obtained using the APC calculator, and that will show you the cost of how much it would be to buy the additional pension. The APC calculator is available through the link shown here on the slide, and it can also be accessed through our website. So Joyce has recently received an estimate and she wants more money in retirement. She visits our LGPS Members Knowledge Hub on the website and she gets a quote using the APC calculator. Joyce needs to provide her gender, her date of birth, the section of the scheme that she's currently in, and the percentage her employer has agreed to pay, if any. Then she needs to say how she wants to pay for it, by regular payment or by lump sum. And once the payment method has been selected, Joyce can use the calculator to either enter how much she wants to pay or how much extra pension she wants to buy. Joyce now needs to send the completed application form to us here at West Yorkshire, and we will ask Joyce to get a medical report, and that's payable by them before their application can be accepted. And this is because when a member buys extra pension, if they retire on ill health grounds, the whole of the contract is paid out, even if they haven't finished paying for it. So that's why we do need them to pay for the medical. If the employer has agreed to meet some of the cost, the member must get their written agreement and submit that with their application form. The agreement should detail the amount of pension the employer is buying and how much they will pay. So check out the guides and fact sheets on our website, and if you get stuck, just get in touch and we'll do our best to help you. So just to recap the new information. So less than 15 days, the member pays and the employer pays on the lost pensionable pay. If it's more than 15 days, the member has to elect to pay and the employer pays if the election is within the 1 year time scale. And for all child-related leave, assumed pensionable pay should be reported and the employer contributions are paid on the assumed pensionable pay. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope that's helped. The slides and a questionnaire will be sent round later, but if anybody has any questions now in the chat or wants to raise their hand, please do let me know. And Jat is on standby to help me out if there's anything that's come through while I've been on.
Nothing on the chat, so I'll see if anyone is typing.
I think Verity's got her hand up. Verity, would you like to ask a question? Make it easy. Don't embarrass me. I've lost Verity. Are you there, Verity? Can we unmute Verity? Or were you just waving?
Oh, okay.
Hello,
Oh,
Verity.
we've got questions coming through now.
Okay.
Please can you confirm why the gender please can you confirm why gender has to be confirmed?
Okay, because women live longer than men, and the actuaries factor that into the costs of the calculations. It's the simplest and the only explanation for it. It's not because of any other reason. So, as far as the actuaries are concerned, you need to pick a side. I know that doesn't suit everybody in these modern times, but it is required for these financial calculations.
Excellent. Next question from Mandy. Will we get a copy of the slides? And that's yes. We'll send you
Yes.
a copy of the slides after the presentation with a questionnaire as well. So thank you. Jodie as well. Just bear with me. The only question I have is what if after SMP ends, the member of staff does not want to pay contributions? If they must, would this be paid out of their next pay?
Okay, so when they're on sick pay and they run out of sick pay, you report assumed pensionable pay. The member will only pay on what they receive. So we don't disadvantage them because they're not receiving any salary. We report the assumed pensionable pay and there is no deductions to deduct from the member because they're on zero pay. So we calculate the assumed pensionable pay, which is based on a 3-month average before any pay was reduced. And that's what we use, and that's what should be reported for those zero pay periods of sickness. So the member only pays on what they earn. Is that a good enough way of explaining it for you?
Sorry, I meant statutory maternity, not sick.
Yeah, so statutory maternity is the same. So these new regulations cover maternity and paternity. So all of those child-related leaves, you report assumed pensionable pay. So the member only pays on what they're earning. So when they go on to zero earnings, they don't pay. So essentially, they're getting the 3 months unpaid leave for free in pension terms. So you, the employer, are reporting the assumed pensionable pay. So it covers that period. And the member doesn't earn anything and doesn't have to pay anything. It's only when they're taking the unpaid absences, as in they're asking for some extra days off. So sickness and maternity, all child-related leave is covered by assumed pensionable pay. It's just the extra odd day that they ask for here and there. So if they need a few days off to go to a funeral and they work in a school, they don't have any leave. So they would have to take unpaid time off. So you would take the deductions from their salary as if they had been paid for the full month. So if they normally pay £100 a month, you would still take £100 a month, even though they didn't earn enough to pay the £100 a month, so that they're not disadvantaged by taking those couple of extra days off.
Jodie
So,
says, thank you, that makes sense.
okay.
Verity says, when a person is on 50/50 scheme, goes to nil, then goes back to main section, if they continue on unpaid leave, the contributions will base on the 50/50 rate? Question mark.
Yes, so being in the 50/50 section for these unpaid elements doesn't jump back to the main scheme. It remains at the 50/50. So it's the rate that they were on before the authorised absence occurs. So yes, if they're in the 50/50, they stay in the 50/50. So normally when they're in the 50/50 and they run out of money, it goes back to the main scheme. But for these new regulations, they stay in the 50/50.
Thank you. Another question come in. Does that mean that mothers who have unpaid maternity leave don't need to apply to purchase lost pension as APP will just be reported?
Yeah, so they're essentially getting those 3 months for free. They don't need to buy it back because it's going to be reported as if they were being paid in full.
Okay. Sorry, just to go back to the Verity question about the 50-50. What about when it goes to nil, even when it goes to nil pay sick?
So sickness, we're reporting APP for. So I think they'd stay in the, you would normally put them back in the main scheme following a period of nil pay. You do, don't you? I'll double check that for you, Verity, but I think under these regulations now, they stay in the scheme that they were in because that is not changing. So even though they're running out of money and they're having zero contributions paid, you're reporting the assumed pensionable pay. And when they come back, it's continuing as if they hadn't been off. So my understanding is that they would stay in the 50-50 rather than jump back up to the main. Because this is new protections for them.
Thank you.
Any more? Appreciate it is new information. You do all have questions. If you're not comfortable asking the question now, that's fine. You can pick up the phone later or drop us an email and we can pick up anything that you're not sure about. And as I say, it is new. We're still learning it as well. So we may need to come back to you if you're asking something that we've not picked up on yet or not come across. Is everybody happy?
Yeah, nothing else coming through in the chat, so thank you. I've got a thumbs up come through there as well, so thanks, guys.
Okay, if everybody's happy, we'll bring the meeting to a close and let you get on with the rest of your day. And if you do need to come back to us, do reach out. Don't be shy. Get in touch and we'll help you with anything we can.
Oh, just one question just come through. If payroll systems have not been configured for this change, do we still apply the changes retrospectively?
Yes, at the nearest first opportunity, you should be making the deduction. So if something happens in July and you don't get it on the July payroll or it's not factored in, do it for August. Send the instruction for August to adjust it if you need to. So we can do it retrospectively. And remember, if you need to do something like that, pop a comment in the notes on the monthly return so that we can see that there's a reason why it's gone up, why it's gone down, and we can pick that up. So yeah, do it as soon as possible. And we appreciate that not everybody's payroll system is as wonderful as we'd like them to be. So we do have to fudge and faff with bits and pieces as they come up. So yeah, we totally understand.
Perfect, thank you. I don't think there's any more chats coming in, just some couple of thank yous.
Okay, lovely. Verity, your hand's still up. Are you okay? Did I answer all your questions? Or are you just waving at me? Oh, I think she's gone now. Scared her off. Sorry. If everybody's happy, then we'll bring it to a close and we'll catch you on the next webinar. We've got another one coming up for the counsellors. If you've not been on that one, hop on that one and see about the new changes for those as well. Okay, thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.